Hi everyone, and welcome back to another video on my channel. If you follow my channel, then you know that I love frogs, especially tree frogs. With their big bug eyes and their thick sticky toe pads, tree frogs can be some of the cutest and most lovable frogs on the planet. And I'm sitting in front of my vivarium for my two tiger-legged monkey tree frogs. You've probably heard me and other people say that it's crucially important whenever you get a new reptile or amphibian to do as much research as you can. But I've found that there's not much information out there about tiger-legged monkey tree frogs. So in today's video, I'm going to go over everything you need to know to care for tiger-legged monkey tree frogs. These frogs are native to the Amazon rainforest. They can be found in forested areas and swampy meadows and are even considerably prevalent in some of the metropolitan regions of South America. They belong to the genus Phylomedusa, and there are 30 different species in this genus. But the most common species that you see in the pet trade are the tiger-legged monkey tree frogs and the super tiger-legged monkey tree frogs, which are just a little bit larger. These are small frogs that only reach an adult size of around 2 inches. They do well cohabitated in groups, and something like a 10-gallon tank can comfortably house 3 to 4 of these frogs. I keep mine in this 18 by 18 by 18 Exoterra Frogs & Co. terrarium, and they've thrived in here. They are arboreal frogs, but I've seen them down on the ground before. Now, being arboreal, you can go with a terrarium that has more vertical space, like an 18 by 18 by 24 inch terrarium. However, I think the term arboreal is often misunderstood when it comes to small tree frogs, and especially monkey tree frogs. Don't get me wrong, bigger is always better when it comes to any amphibians or reptiles. But even more important than vertical space is that you need to replicate in the terrarium the environment in the trees and foliage where these frogs live. That means plants, and lots of plants. Anything with sturdy broad leaves like pothos or philodendron suits them well and gives them ample places to hide and sleep. And they also love bromeliads. Tiger-legged monkey tree frogs are nocturnal, and they spend all of the daylight hours hidden away sleeping under the broad leaves. Then at night they come out and hunt and explore their surroundings. So the point I'm trying to make is that a less tall vivarium with lots of appropriate foliage is going to be better than a taller enclosure with a few fake plants stuck to the walls. With that being said, in my opinion, these frogs are going to be much healthier and happier in a well set up bioactive vivarium. Monkey tree frogs are a group within the Phylomedusa genus, and they're called monkey tree frogs because they don't hop or jump, but rather use their long legs to walk through the foliage like a monkey. They're even one of the only frogs that have an opposable thumb that helps them grip onto the leaves and branches as they do this. So spiderwood in the vivarium is perfect for them because it has lots of thinner branches that they can hold onto. As far as lighting goes, plenty of sources recommend giving these tree frogs UVB lighting, and there's no harm in doing that if you want to. My experience has been that these frogs are 100% nocturnal, and that they don't even like light at all, so I don't give mine UVB. I've kept these frogs for years like that, and they've thrived. But it is important to give them a 12-hour on-off day-night light cycle. Plus, you're going to need a bright, full-spectrum LED light to keep the plants healthy. So let's talk about heat and humidity. As far as heat goes, these frogs can tolerate a temperature range from 65 degrees to 85 degrees, but prefer temperatures in the mid-70s. Temperatures in the high 80s and over 90 can quickly become dangerous and even fatal for these frogs. I keep the ambient temperature in the reptile room at 73 to 75 degrees, and I let the temperature drop to the high 60s to 70 at night. And these two frogs have been fine with that. I've seen more than one source recommend using a low wattage heat lamp if the temperatures in your home are too low. And this scares me a little bit. My opinion is that any heat lamp has a potential for creating an environment that's too hot and can also suck away any humidity that you're trying to create. So I don't recommend using any kind of supplemental heat for any frogs. If the room is too cold, rather find a way to raise and regulate the ambient temperature in the room instead. As far as humidity goes, monkey tree frogs have adapted to be able to survive in less humid environments and can be found in drier microclimates where they live. They do this by secreting a waxy substance from a gland under their elbows, and they rub that on their skin. It protects their skin from drying out when the environment is drier. And with that, these frogs can tolerate humidity levels as low as 60%. But just because they can tolerate that doesn't mean that they would be happy with that. Low humidity levels, especially without access to water, can quickly be fatal. I aim for a humidity level around 70% and achieve that by misting down the terrarium at least once a day. I usually mist mine once in the morning and let it dry out over the course of the day and give another light mist again in the evening. And like most tree frogs, ventilation and air movement is very important, so the top of the terrarium should be at least half screen. Frogs are amphibians and they absorb everything from water to oxygen and minerals through their skin. Unfortunately, this means they can also absorb any kind of chemicals or toxins through their skin as well. And this means that the quality of water you provide them is crucially important. By all means, never use straight tap water with your frogs, whether it's for misting or soaking. Tap water contains chlorine and other chemicals that can be very harmful to frogs. You can use an amphibian-safe water conditioner like Reptisafe to remove the chemicals from your tap water, but don't just dump it in the water willy-nilly. Read the directions and use it as directed. I personally don't like the idea of using chemicals to remove chemicals, so instead I use bottled spring water for all of my frogs. Feeding these frogs is not too difficult. They're insectivores and can eat any feeder insect that is appropriately sized and doesn't have a hard shell or exoskeleton. Fruit flies for froglets and small crickets for adults are a good staple diet for them. The feeder insects need to be dusted with calcium with D3 or vitamins on every other feeding. I feed my frogs about 3 times a week and alternate feeding between calcium on one feeding, vitamins on the next, and no supplements on the next after that. I don't bother to tongue feed these two frogs, and I'm not even sure if they'd take their food that way. For these two frogs, I throw in about 10 to 12 small crickets into the vivarium, and just before lights out and let the frogs hunt them down. You really don't have to worry about the frogs being able to find the crickets because although you probably never see them do it, they're very good at it. One of my favorite things about these frogs is hearing their calls. I hear this a lot, either very late at night or very early in the morning, and this is what that sounds like. So that about covers everything you need to know to care for tiger-legged monkey tree frogs. I hope you enjoyed the video and I hope you found it useful. If you have any questions, feel free to leave me a comment below. And I appreciate you watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.